phone from Apple, and an MP3 player from Apple, and a DVR from Apple. Hello, Apple is just a computer company. They're just a company like all of their competition. Dell, HP, Gateway, Compaq, they're all the same. They all have equal and open access to the same talent, the same resources, the same media, the same consultants, the same agencies. They have some products that are great and some that are not, some systems that work and some that don't. It is a zero-sum game. The difference is, Dell, for example, has defined themselves by what they do. We make computers. Apple has defined themselves from why they exist. Dell, a few years ago, perfectly qualified to make other products, came out with MP3 players and PDAs, and nobody bought one. Why would we buy an MP3 player from a computer company? It doesn't make sense, but we do it every day. It's not what you do that matters, it's why you do it. And what you do serves as the tangible proof of what you believe. For this little system to work, you have to have three things. One, you have to have clarity of why. If you don't know why you do what you do, how will anyone else? Two, you have to have discipline of how. These are your guiding principles and your values that you hold yourself and your people accountable to. Three, you have to have consistency of what. We live in the tangible world. At the end of the day, everything we say and everything we do has to prove what we believe, otherwise no one will know what we believe. Again, we live in a tangible world. A why is just a belief, that's all it is. Hows are the actions we take to realize that belief, and what are the results of those actions? Our products, our marketing, our services, etc., etc. This is the concept behind authenticity. I'm tired of people standing up and saying, you have to be authentic. People prefer to vote for the authentic candidate. They prefer to buy from the authentic brand. They prefer to give to the authentic organization. How do you implement authenticity? How do you go back to your offices tomorrow? If you could, please, a little more authenticity in everything you do, I'd appreciate it. Thank you. It's an impossible instruction. What authenticity means is the things you say and the things you do, you actually believe. This is caveman stuff. The reason the human race is so successful is not because we're the strongest. It's not even because we're the smartest. It's because we're social animals that have the capacity to form cultures, communities. What's a culture? It's a group of people with a common set of values and beliefs. What's an organization? What's a company? What's a nonprofit? It's a group of people with a common set of values and beliefs. This is what draws us together. Our own personal survival depends on our ability to surround ourselves with people who believe what we believe. This is what gives us confidence to leave the cave, to go hunting saber-toothed tigers, or to go exploring, knowing, feeling confident that our community, our culture, those who believe what we believe, will stay back and look after our children and look after our stuff. If we don't trust the people with whom we live and work, we're paranoid. And our survival goes down. We need each other. This is why the video conference will never replace the in-person meeting. You can't get a read on somebody over a video conference. And we need that gut feeling. I know they do everything right, but something about him that just doesn't feel right. You can't get that over video conference. We're biologically made to be able to suss that out. My survival depends on it. While I was writing the book, I had to come up with an example to prove the importance of trust and where trust comes from. And that it comes from a place that we don't usually think it comes from. And I realized something that every time I talk about it, it really it blows me away, quite frankly. What's our most valued possession on the planet? Our children, right? We value our children more than anything else. Okay, so let's take a scenario. Let's say you have some kids and you want to go on a date. And so you need a babysitter, right? And you have two options. One option is the 16-year-old girl who lives down the street, very little of any babysitting experience, but she's just down the street from within the community. The other option is a 32-year-old who just moved into the community, 10 years of babysitting experience, but you don't know where she's from. Who do you choose? The 16-year-old. The 16-year-old. You would rather choose somebody with no experience, who you know comes from your community, to look after your most valuable possession on the planet, over somebody with vast experience who just don't know where they come from or what they believe. That's crazy. Then why do we do it differently at work? Why are we more preoccupied with someone's experience and their resume? What have they done before? And yet we never think to evaluate, do you even belong here? Do you believe what we believe? We have a lower standard. It's not what you do that matters, it's why you do it. Like I said before, This is not my opinion. This is grounded in the tenets of biology, not psychology, biology. If you look at a cross-section of the human brain, looking from the top down, you see that the human brain actually evolved into three major areas that corresponds precisely with this little idea. The outside area is our neocortex, our Homo sapien brains, responsible for all of our rational and analytical thought and language. The middle two sections make up our limbic brains, and our limbic brains are responsible for all of our feelings, like trust and loyalty. It's also responsible for all human behavior, all decision-making, and it has no capacity for language. In other words, when we communicate from the outside in, yes, people can understand vast amounts of complicated information, it just doesn't drive behavior. When we communicate from the inside out, you're talking directly to the part of the brain that controls behavior and feelings. The problem is it doesn't control language. And so the question, why do you do what you do? Why did you give to that organization? Is actually a very, very difficult question to answer. We rationalize. Like the question, why do you love your husband? Or why do you love your wife? This is actually a difficult question, because the part of the brain that controls love doesn't control language. And so we talk around it. She's fun, she's smart, she's loyal, you know, sounds like a golden retriever. And then we say things that don't even make sense. She completes me. I don't even know what that means. What we're attempting to do is put into words the feeling that we have towards somebody with the part of the brain that doesn't control language. And so we either talk around it or put it in words that don't make sense. We do it at work all the time. All the people who belong here, what do we say about them? They get it. That guy, he gets it. And what about the people who don't? Doesn't get it. That guy doesn't get it. He just doesn't get it. I don't know. He doesn't get it. The problem is you don't know whether they get it or not until you've worked with them for a while. The goal is to find the people who believe what you believe before you have to work with them. To find the people who believe what you believe, so you don't have to pitch to people who aren't going to give you or aren't going to be loyal in the first place. The goal is to do business with people who believe what you believe. There's always a reason people do business with you that has nothing to do with you. The goal is not to do business with people who need what you have. The goal is to do business with people who believe what you believe. People who believe what you believe work for you with blood and sweat and tears. People who don't believe what you believe work for your money. It's not what you do that matters, it's why you do it. This biological thing is amazing. It's like you can't even ask somebody, how many of you either own a Mac or know somebody who loves their Mac? Right? A whole bunch of them, okay. Creative bunch. Right? Why do you love your Mac? When you go up to somebody and say, why do you love your Mac? They don't tell you. Well, you see, I'm the kind of person who likes to challenge the status quo. And so it's very important for me to surround myself with the people and the products and the brands that prove to the outside world who I believe I am. Now, biologically, that's what happened. But it happened in the part of the brain that controls behavior but not language. And so they rationalize. It's the user interface. It's the simplicity. It's the design. I'm a creative person. Whatever that is. Like she completes me, right? And this thing, this apple, because it embodies a part of who they see themselves as, it becomes self-identity. People with Apple laptops love opening their laptops in airports so that everybody can see who they are, right? And you'll never see somebody with an Apple laptop put one of those tiger print stickers over the top of their computer. You would never hide that Apple. PCs, all the time. Stickers, and when they pop them open in airports, we don't care, and neither do they. In fact, for the longest time, Dell had their logo facing the user, so when you open the computer, it was upside down. It's not what you do that matters, it's why you do it. And the clearer you are about what you believe, and everything you say and everything you do proves what you believe, then the things you say and the things you do, people want to incorporate those things into their lives, not for you, but for themselves. It's part of their own self-identity.